Pardon me. Four lines from the top towards the end of the line. We call Mokon. That would be a point of start. Check it out. An interesting thing that I was thinking about last night. I get all kinds of write-ups, people's reaction to what we're learning and so forth. I'm always attempting to bring things down to some kind of relevance within the worldly context, and yet people are focused on that which is superworldly. It's interesting. Why that is, I don't know. Bring it down to to a context that we can relate to, it becomes relevant. Maybe that's why we are trying to avoid it. Then it becomes demanding. Okay, it's relevant, so live up to it. Otherwise, okay, you're flying someplace.
I thought the main criteria is not to be relevant, but to hear what's being said. And insight is not necessarily directly about avoidable relevance. It's about ratzon, oneg.
That is not. Where did you get that?
From years of sitting here. That sometimes you talk about a bechein, some kind of take home, some relevance. Other times it's what is telling us.
No. Two different things. There's a difference between grasp and relevance. Relevance means that you can relate to it. Grasp is something else. We can relate to, we're supposed to relate to every word in the Torah. Doesn't mean that we grasp every one. See, the point of grasp is grasping it within the worldly context. The world can understand this thing. That is not a criterion. Criterion is that the world can be affected by it. And it can be elevated by it. I'll try to make that distinction as we go along, so we understand this very important, very clearly. Okay, we're starting 4 lines from the top on page Samahei. Towards the end of the line, so the second madrege of oir is also a supreme oir, but it's not levado. It's not the extreme superiority in essential superiority when it cannot relate to anything else. Since that excuse me, it already is begili. It came to expression, and this expression is not merely expression to itself, but that it should become a moker lo'eres esesfilis. Should be a source for the oires of esesfilis. This concept of moker for oires and so forth, we've discussed multiple times in all kinds of different illustrations. Okay, we'll leave that for the time. We come yet still. Yet still, we say regarding this madrega too, that he rises above days of world, even though he's a mocker for Oir of sphirot, but it is still rising above the days of world. What does it mean it rises above days of world, yet it is a mocker for the Oiris versus Sphirot? Lihiyois, because since that, that these Oiris, heim gankim b'lima, these Oiris are also without a ma, meaning without a personal presence. B'bchinas pshitus, these Oiris are in a pshitus quality. Pshitus quality we already discussed multiple times. Pshitus quality means that yes, indeed, there is the oir, but the oir is there not on account of its own presence, on account of its own functionality and its own justification for its own presence, but rather because of a bigger truth. And therefore, its presence is in a certain sense inadvertent. And therefore, I'm going to finish the Tinya and then we'll again bring out the point that I started with. Therefore they are superior, elevated as yet, still, from the bechina of days of world. And what is days of world? What's called, these are days of Zoh, Zeirampin. V'yomim the sphirot Atzilus bichlal. And the days of sphirot Atzilus in general. And what is sphirot Atzilus? The criterion of sphirot Atzilus relative to that which is above them, and it is that the sphirot Atzilus are mislabish in kelim. And what is so significant about kelim? The significance of kelim is that it has a presence and a functional definition within the worldly context. That's mean kelim. For example, it says in Pesach Eliyahu, Chesed is Dreya Yemino, is the right arm. Gvura is Dreya Smala, is the left arm. Now the right arm is the executive of Chesed. The left arm is the executive of Gvura.
Executive?
The executor. Chesed expresses itself to the right arm, and Gvura expresses itself to the left arm. So what do you mean Chesed Dreya Yemino? The phenomenon of Chesed is present in the world only when the Chesed is in a keli, which means you can do an act of Chesed. If you have a feel of chesed, but you cannot do an act of chesed, then that's not present in the world. It's present someplace else. Present in the world means that it has a worldly presence. In the world, chesed means that you are able. If somebody is hungry, and you have compassion for his hunger, chesed is when you take food and put it in his mouth. Although, what motivates this activity of putting food in his mouth? Clearly, there's a feel of chesed. There's a spirit that motivates it. But this spirit must translate in a keli. It has to be so clearly defined within a serious world, to the point where you can translate, okay, so here's what you do as a result. If the chesed is b'bchinas pshitus, let us put it in some kind of terminology. This person who is in need is a specific individual. On the higher level, he's a human being. On the higher level, he's a godly creation. All of these things are true. Now, if you look at him from the perspective that he's a higher godly creation, you won't be able to identify the fact that he's hungry. You're completely remote from his worldly reality. As a godly creation, there should be no possibility of him lacking anything. The godly creation. But here we are in a situation where this godly creation is hungry. So therefore you have to translate how the creation is to more specific, this kind of creation. And then furthermore, this individual specimen of that creation. This is this particular individual. You cannot feed the whole world, you can feed only the individual. That's when you can focus in and do the act of chesed. This is when the chesed becomes, so to speak, a tangible presence. You're not speaking in terms of kindness on an overall reality level, but kindness to this particular person in this particular moment, in this particular manner. This is when this kindness has a real presence. If you speak from the vantage point that from a godly perspective there should be no lack, you're not talking about a presence of chesed. This is what we say, that the second level of this oyer is an oyer that speaks from a godly perspective. Yes, indeed, there are spheros, but the spheros are there representing the godly presence. That's why it's still above days of world. Has not worldly, the definition of worldly criterion is mitzat pshitus. It is there, this is how it should be, rather than this is how it is. It's a big difference. So this is the second of the two supreme qualities of oil. Again, as I mentioned in the start, I want that we should understand the relevance of this, without losing sight of what we're talking about. When we see somebody hungry, we immediately feel his suffering. And we want to assuage that suffering. This phenomenon that we feel his suffering is it's commendable. But this is a feel that is lacking a godly phenomenon. That was a truth. Let me put it in a practical format. This type of reaction is possible only when you're confronted, when you meet a person and you see his suffering, and that affects you. But if you hear that 1,000 miles away that there is a nation and there's a group of people who suffered floods and they're hungry, this is in a different world. It doesn't touch me. Doesn't affect me. But if you recognize the total truth of that indeed, yes, they're also part of Hashem's world. And Hashem provides for them His godly kindness. And you have an opportunity to be that emissary who would actually bring it home to them. That would be a great privilege. There, it's a completely different criterion. Again, you are recognizing their suffering not because you're suffering along with them, but because this is how it should be from a godly perspective. And yet, it is not remote from reality. Not manusa, it's not some kind of a theoretical level. In the practical level. This is when these sphirot are mislabishing keli. Yes, there is a need. But your recognition of this need is due to the fact that you recognize what kind of entity this is, who created it, and what is your duty in it.
So you have the pashut, the that's pashut already in a kli.
It begins from a pshitus. That's when he has it, the godly truth. And then it goes down further into the Keli. This is an important criterion, if I may say so, that if you are concerned exclusively by something that touches you directly, rather than your knowledge of a need, you are not focused, you're not connecting to the truth of this need. If someone comes to you like Sphirot, I have a meisid and I'm struggling and I'm trying to maintain this meisid. I'm saying, it's not in my arena. Nothing to do with me. True, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with your God. It has to do completely with a different level of who you are. This is the principle of Oir. Oir is always representing a truth, but then there are different levels. The truth in an absolute sense, and the truth as it comes down in Mitzvahs and world in Keli. But even after that, it maintains the phenomenon of its truth. This is what we're saying all the time. Put it very bluntly again, after the table becomes a physical structure, it still remains a table. Not a physical structure.
That's like after you feel for this person as an individual, he still retains the godly creation aspect. That's not lacking.
I don't need Sirius Rashi. Okay.
It's not Rashi.
Okay. Sirius Achonim.
It's nothing.
That's when we become Yemin, there's a sphirot, the Atzilus Bichlal. That is, at that point, the second Oir, yes, it is, there is as a spheres, there's a spheres, but they're remote from days of world. They are days that represent the divine truth, the godly truth, the source, rather than how they translate in a worldly level. From godly perspective, of course, it's pshitus. Of course, that's how it is. But this pshitus, this father, and this is how it is not due to their presence, but due to the higher presence from which they come. Real spheres is when they have their own presence. All right. So now we shall decide that we are on the line that begins in Mois Eilam, and we start from the end of this line.
I guess it was more like a question, in a sense. Just the fact that you're removing this perspective that he's a godly creation. You're removing that.
No, you're not.
At the same, in order to be on a worldly level, you have to focus on the fact that he's an individual, but you're not removing that. You're not removing that perspective at the same time.
That's right.
Okay.
All right. Okay, have a great day. Seamus, I got you with me? Huh?
Yeah.